Okay, today I'm here to go over your review book, topic 9, which is weathering and erosion, and then topic 10, which is deposition. So remember, I told you it's a good idea to actually read the material that's in your review book. So the first part is going to be on the weathering, soil formation, and here we are on the first question. Okay, number 1. What is the main difference between chemical and physical weathering? Your answer is going to be chemical weathering alters the composition of the minerals, and the physical weathering does not. All right, remember, chemical weathering, you need a chemical reaction, hydrolysis, acid rain. Any of those would be a chemical weathering. If I'm breaking a rock like you guys did with shaking of them, that's a physical change. Or if you're looking at when the one video had the trees growing out of the hillside, that's also a physical weathering. Question number 2. Which is the best example of physical weathering? The answer is number 1. The cracking of a rock caused by the freezing and thawing of water. That water gets into the crack of the rock. This is perfect time of year. It freezes overnight, water expands when it freezes, pushes more pressure onto that rock, onto that crack, and that crack expands. Number 3. Water is a major agent of chemical weathering because water. Now, all these things are true about water, but the only one that's going to actually answer the question is that it dissolves many of the minerals that make up the rocks. Number 4. In which climate would the chemical weathering of limestone occur most rapidly? Remember, I need humidity. I need moisture. So with that one, I'm going to get rid of anything that says dry. The other thing you have to remember is warm air can hold more moisture than cold air. So your answer is going to be warm and humid. What is the general relationship between the depth of the soil formed from the underlying bedrock and the length of the weathering period responsible for its formation? The longer that the rocks are being weathered, the thicker your soil is going to be. So it's going to have a greater depth. So in other words, relationship-wise, it would be a direct relationship. As the time increases, so does the depth. Number 6. A variety of soil types are found in New York State primarily because areas of the state differ in their... Okay, the answer is going to be number 3. Underlying bedrock and sediments. Insolation we haven't talked about yet. Insolation is incoming solar radiation. That one we'll talk about with astronomy. It doesn't really matter how far you are from the ocean or how much human activity is. If you go to your reference table, page 3, we'll be talking about this one when we do geological history, which is your next topic. But each little area shows by symbols. So if we're looking in, say, Syracuse looking at the lines, I can come over here and I can figure out what rock type our bedrock is in Syracuse. If you look through them, they're different. Some of them are going to be metamorphic because they were true mountains or mountain building, and a lot of them are going to be sedimentary. And if I get into Long Island is glacial till. So it's going to vary. Number 7. Describe the specific temperature and moisture characteristics of a climate in which frost action is dominant in the winter season. So I want to have frost action. I obviously need temperatures that are going to go above freezing and then below freezing because I need that alternating freezing and thawing. And obviously I need the moisture too. So I need it to be moist. I need to have temperatures that alternate between above freezing and below freezing. Number 8. The chemical composition of soil formed in a certain area from the bedrock beneath it is determined by... The answer would be the minerals in the bedrock beneath the soil and the climate of the area. Number 9. Which type of climate has the greatest amount of rock weathering caused by frost action? This is the same question as number 7, but in a multiple choice section. So I need wet climate in which the temperatures alternate between below freezing and above freezing. Number 10. New York State soils are most likely composed of rock particles that have been most of our soils have been transported by glaciers or water. Alright, a lot of ours has come from Canada, so it's come from a glacier. That's your weathering questions. Moving on, your next section is going to be erosion, also which includes your mass movement. Remember, you also have that packet I gave to you weeks ago that you were supposed to have read. Question 11. By which processes are rocks broken up and moved to different locations? If I'm breaking the rocks up into smaller pieces, that's weathering, and if I'm moving them, that's erosion. Number 12. The best evidence that erosion has taken place would be provided by, well, if I'm looking at deep soil formed in place on a hillside, I'm weathering. I'm not moving it. Number 2, sediments observed at the bottom of a cliff. That means there's been movement. So that would be my erosion. Folding and faulting is not erosion. That we covered in plate tectonics. Number 13. The primary, and I underline the word force because that's the word that you need to focus on, responsible for most of the transportation of rock material on the surface of the earth is. The only one that's a force there is gravity. The other 3 are agents. Number 14. The composition of sediments on the Earth's surface usually are quite different from the composition of the underlying bedrock. This observation suggests that if your parent material doesn't match your soil, that means your sediments have been transported. They've been moved. They've been eroded. Number 15. Describe the relationship between mass movement and gravity. Gravity is what causes mass movement, so there's a direct relationship there. Number 16. Which agent probably contributes most to the general wearing down of Earth's surface? For us now, it's running water. 11,000 years ago, I would have said glaciers. 17. The area drained by a river and its tributaries is called, that's your drainage basin, or also known as your watershed. Straight out of your definitions. 18. The increase of dissolved materials in the ocean is primarily the result of the transportation of materials by river. I am dissolving materials as the water is moving. The rivers eventually find their way to the ocean. Number 19. The velocity of the stream at a particular location is controlled mainly by remember we talked about this one. There's 2 things that are going to control it. Volume of the water and the slope. So the only one that's going to fit there is number 3. Slope of the stream channel at that location. Number 20. A pebble is being transported in a stream by rolling. This is your bed load from your notes. How does the velocity of the pebble compare to the velocity of the stream? Number 1. The pebble is moving more slowly than the stream. That's right off your lab or your stream flow. 21. Which is the largest sediment type that could be carried by a stream flowing at the velocity of 75 centimeters per second? Now I need you back to your reference table. Page 6. This you're going to need to be able to do with your test too. So I'm going 75 centimeters per second. Remember, these are going up by 10. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 75 is about right here. So if I'm looking to see where I hit my dark black line, that would be pebbles. So my largest is pebbles. 22. Which statement best describes a stream with a steep gradient? Gradient means slope. So if it has a steep slope, that means the water is moving fast. So it flows rapidly, producing a V-shaped valley. The V shape, because remember, it's youth. It's a youthful stream. It's moving rapidly. It's downcutting. 23. Which is the slowest stream velocity needed to maintain a 1 centimeter particles moving downstream? So you're back to your reference table. This one, I'm at 1 centimeters. I need to read over to see where it intersects the dark line. So if I look at my options, I need a minimum. Alright, dark. So I get it right about there, which is right about the 50. So 50 is going to be my answer. 50 centimeters per second. Remember, it's asking for the minimum. The rest of those will move it, but it doesn't answer the question, which is, what is the minimum? 24. Much of the erosion by wind is caused by, that's abrasion by blowing sand. Remember, we looked at it as the sand is picked up, if the velocity increases, it's blown against the rock, causing a pitted appearance on the rock. 25. Wind erosion is most active in regions that have. I need loose sediment. So I don't want something that's humid. I don't want something that's got a lot of vegetation. But I need to have loose sediments, because if it's hot climate and it's all rock, I'm not going to get my wind erosion. So make sure you're really careful when answering that question. Number 26. Which agent of erosion formed by long U-shaped valleys now occupied by the Finger Lakes in central New York State? Okay, right out of your notes. The Finger Lakes, the U-shaped valley, you need to think glacier. So glacial ice. 27. The mushroom rock illustrated in diagram 912A. This is your mushroom rock. Notice it's been eroded more at the bottom and less at the top. Because you got to remember, the wind can only pick up that sand so high. And that sand is what is actually abrading that rock material. So let's go back and look at the question. Alright, the mushroom rock illustrated in figure 9-12A shows sign of sandblasting. Explain why the rock has been eroded more at the base than at the top. As I stated, the sand can only get picked up so far. You're going to abrade more at the base. 28. Ocean waves do most of their erosion. Well, this is going to be at or near the zone of breaking waves. It hits a sandbar that's further out, the waves are going to break. Remember, we talked about the waves are going to break when the wavelength is half. Alright, it's going to cause the bottom to slow down and the top keep moving. 29. What is the most important reason that sediments at beaches are usually rounded and smooth? That's the same thing as a river. The moving water causes sediments to abrade against each other. You're abrading. You're having the rocks hit each other. Okay, that's the end of topic 9. Email me with questions. Okay, what I did was I flipped over. I'm still on topic 9, but I'm in the practice questions. I want to go over just a few of them that were not highlighted in the other part. So if I look at question number 6, the following diagram shows soil layers formed in an area of granite bedrock. 4 different soil layers, A, B, C, and D, are shown. Which soil layer contains the greatest amount of materials formed by biological activity? Okay, if I remember, A is my topsoil, correct? It's rich in organic matter because when things are dying, they're dying on the top. And that area is going to be horizon A. Okay, moving on, I want to go over to question number 14. The following diagram is a map view of a stream flowing through an area of loose sediments. Arrows show the location of the strongest current. Well, that makes sense because on a straightaway, it's going to be in the center, just below the surface. On a meander, it's going to be on the outside of the meander. So which stream profile represents the cross-section from A prime? It's a straightaway, so we said it's going to be deepest in the center, correct? So that would be choice B. Oh, sorry, choice 2. Flipping over, I want to look at 20 and 21. So 20. The greatest volume of water would most likely be moving past which location? So here's my stream flowing through. Alright, so my volume is going to be the same, not necessarily the velocity. Here's my tributary flowing into the stream. So my volume is going to be greatest at F prime. Remember, the question's asking volume, not velocity. 21. Which cross-section best represents the shape of the stream at D prime? We're on a meander. The outside of the meander is D. The inside of the meander is D prime. Thinking back to all the videos and your notes, it's going to be deeper at D because it's got a higher velocity. So deeper at D, I'm building sediments up at D prime, or I'm depositing. So choice number 1. Okay, those are the few questions that I thought were really important that weren't covered earlier.